Exodus chapter 14. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and turning, let them encamp before the property between Migdol and between the sea, right opposite Baal-zephon. Before them you shall encamp by the sea. And Pharaoh will say concerning the sons of Israel, These wander in the land, for the wilderness has closed them up. But I will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and he will pursue after them, and I will be glorified by Pharaoh, and by all his military, and all the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord. And they did thus. And it was announced to the king of the Egyptians that the people have fled. And the heart of Pharaoh was converted, and the hearts of his attendants against the people. And they said, What is this we have done, to send out the sons of Israel, to not slave to us? Pharaoh then teamed up his chariots, and led all his people with himself. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the cavalry of the Egyptians, and tribunes over all. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the sons of Israel. But the sons of Israel went with a high hand, and the Egyptians pursued after them. And they found them camping by the sea, and all the cavalry, and the chariots of Pharaoh, and the horsemen, and his military, were before the property right opposite Baal-zephon. And Pharaoh led forward, and the sons of Israel, looking up with the eyes, beheld, and behold, the Egyptians were encamped behind them, and they feared exceedingly. And the sons of Israel yelled out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, Because there were no tombs existing in Egypt, have you led us to be put to death in the wilderness? What is this you did to us, bringing us forth from out of Egypt? Was this not the saying which we spoke in Egypt to you, saying, Disregard us, so that we may slave to the Egyptians? For it is better for us to slave to the Egyptians than to die in this wilderness. And Moses said to the people, Be of courage, stand and see the deliverance by the Lord, which he will do for us today. For in which manner you see the Egyptians today, you will not proceed still to see them into the eon of time. The Lord will wage war for us, and you shall be quiet. And the Lord said to Moses, Why do you yell to me? Speak to the sons of Israel, and break camp. And you, lift up your rod, and stretch out your hand upon the sea, and tear it. And let the sons of Israel enter into the midst of the sea on dry land. And behold, I will harden the heart of Pharaoh and all the Egyptians, and they will enter in after them, and I will be glorified by Pharaoh, and by all his military, and by the chariots, and by his horses. And all the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, glorifying myself by Pharaoh, and by the chariots, and by his horses. And the angel of God lifted away, going before the camp of the sons of Israel, and went at the rear, and lifted away also the column of cloud from their sight, and it stood from out of the rear of them. And it entered between the camp of the Egyptians and between the camp of Israel, and it stood. And there was darkness and dimness, and the night went by. And they did not mix together one to another the entire night. And Moses stretched out his hand upon the sea, and the Lord drew away the sea by a violent south wind the entire night. And he made the sea dry, and cut asunder the water. And the sons of Israel entered in the midst of the sea down on the dry land, and its water was a wall at the right, and a wall at the left. And the Egyptians pursued, and all the cavalry of Pharaoh entered after them, and the chariots and the riders into the midst of the sea. And it came to pass in the watch in the early morning, and the Lord gave attention unto the camp of the Egyptians with a column of fire and a cloud, and he disturbed the camp of the Egyptians. And he bound the axles of their chariots, and led them with force. And the Egyptians said, We should flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord wages war for them against the Egyptians. And the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand upon the sea, and restore the water, and cover the Egyptians over both the chariots and over the riders. And Moses stretched out the hand upon the sea, and the water restored at day to its place. And the Egyptians fled from under the water, and the Lord shook off the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And in turning back, the water covered the chariots and the riders, and all the force of Pharaoh entering after them into the sea. And there was not left of them, not even one. And the sons of Israel went through dry land in the midst of the sea, and the water was to them a wall at the right and a wall at the left. And the Lord rescued Israel in that day from out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians having died by the edge of the sea. And Israel saw the great hand by which the Lord executed against the Egyptians. And the people feared the Lord, and they trusted in God and Moses his attendant.